Right, in this video we're going to learn about machine and power tools. You're going to learn the names of common machine and power tools that we use in the workshop. We're also going to talk about safety, and we're going to talk about what to do around fault reporting and tool care and maintenance. You have to know all of these things to be successful at practical woodworking. You have to know how to use the tools, you have to know what they're called, and you have to know how to work safely. So let's get started. Let's talk about safety first of all, and the little sentence I like to use is this: safely use machine tools to be less dead. And those letters all stand for something. Let's go through them. Less dead. The phrase means loose clothing should be tucked in. The emergency stop button has to be located. You have to know where that stop button is, either on the machine itself or on the wall. Sometimes you have to hit that button for other people who are in trouble as well. S, set the appropriate machine speed. Things start to go wrong, particularly on the wood lathe. If you've got the wrong speed set, it becomes dangerous to work with. The second S of less stands for secure. All drill bits, blades, workpieces, we don't want anything like that loose or flying around or likely to come out. D, dust extraction needs to be switched on. If you're using the lathe or if you're using the drills or anything like that that creates dust, or the sanding machines, then we have to make sure that the dust extraction is switched on. In actual fact, these machines in our workshop are wired so that they don't actually switch on if the dust isn't activated. E, very important, ensure guards are in place. It's really important. If the machine has a plastic guard or something to protect you from the bit that's spinning and cutting, then it has to be in place. A, always wear protective gear. That includes glasses, safety glasses, it includes aprons, and depending on what you're doing, you may be asked, if you're bending plastic or something like that, you may be asked to wear gloves to protect you from the heat. And D, final one, is that depth stops should always be used, particularly if we're using the mortise machine or the pillar drills. We have to know when to stop drilling, so we always set a depth stop because we do not want to be drilling into solid steel or anything like that. So, safely use machine tools to be less dead. Keep those 8 things in mind and you'll be doing okay. Let's talk about tool care and maintenance. This is sometimes overlooked, right? Because in school somebody else does it for you. But for National 5 practical woodworking, you have to take responsibility for the tools that you're using. And there are several tips here that we'll go through. So, one of your duties is that you must report faults. It doesn't matter how trivial, how unimportant the fault seems, you have to raise it with your teacher. And if there's nobody there to help you at that instance, then do not use the faulty tool. Now I know that you don't know yet what a faulty tool looks like, but you have a gut feel for it. You will pick up something, and if it's loose or wobbly, don't use it. If the handle's cracked, don't use it. If there is a panel missing, don't use it. If there's a light flickering, don't use it, okay? So if you get any bad vibes off of a tool that you're asked to use, don't use it. Let's talk about dust extraction as well. We've got to regularly clean the dust extraction bins and ensure that there are no blockages in the systems, because you remember from our less dead previous slide, dust extraction is important. Some of the dust that we use in enormous quantities can be irritable, so we need to get the dust out of the room. And inspecting tools before use, we're kind of going over the same ground here. Ensure that all cables are in good condition, ensure that all tools and bits are held securely, and ensure that all guards are secure and in good condition. Only when all these points on this slide are met can you go ahead and use the tool on your material. Let's talk about the tools. First of all, these are the common power tools and machine tools that we get in the workshop. There's not many of them, a little bit 10 or so. Let's go through them though, right? So the first one we're going to talk about is the belt sander. You'll have all used it before. Very good for shaping and finishing straight edges and curves. It's very aggressive though. The sandpaper that's on the belt sander is very coarse. Alright, so it's really good at sanding down quickly to a line, but it does not give you a finished finish on it. It does not give you a smooth finish. And I don't know if any of you have noticed yet, but the little table that you use, it can actually tilt and you can create chamfers and bevels with that. Across on the other side of our room, we've got the disc sander, which is pretty much the same as the belt sander, right? But it's generally for smaller pieces, much smaller pieces. Jigsaw. This is a powered saw, sometimes plugged in, sometimes cordless. And it's got a little reciprocating blade. It's got a little blade that moves up and down really quickly. And it's for cutting curves and complex shapes. It's really hard to get a beautiful straight line with a jigsaw, but anytime we've got to cut out curves or anything like that, we would take one of those. It can handle thick boards, it can handle thin boards, and there's a little kind of, you can put a little, what we call a fence attachment on it. It's like a little arm that sticks out the side of it and will run along the side of a board to try and give you straight lines, but it's very hard to get straight lines on a jigsaw. The cordless screwdriver, don't think we use them in our workshop. I've certainly not seen them. Tends to be battery powered, and it's a handheld screwdriver, and it's brilliant because if you've ever had to use a screwdriver, an ordinary screwdriver, over and over again, it's very punishing on your hands. So a cordless screwdriver is fast and efficient, especially if you get lots of screws to put in. And it's very powerful as well, sometimes so powerful that if you've not got it properly engaged, when it starts to spin, it strips away the little head on the screw. It can also snap screws as well, so we need to be careful, but it's a brilliant thing, the cordless screwdriver. Corded drill, so this is a drill that's plugged in. A very powerful mains powered hand drill. This stuff can go through concrete with the right brick on it. Okay, it can drill holes in multiple materials, metal, wood, concrete, brick, stone, like that. If you are using it though, you have to be mindful that you're dragging a cable all over the workshop, so that cable has to be tucked away so it doesn't trip anybody over. So that's the corded drill. It's got a little cousin, it's called the cordless drill. It's battery powered, it's portable, and it can be used in tight spaces. It can be used where there is no mains power, such as if you're working outside or somewhere tight or something like that, right? Cordless drills are fantastic things. They can almost do everything that a corded drill can do without the hassle of a cable. But it does have a battery. The battery needs to be charged for several hours, as it turns out, as well. Okay, so that's the two drills, corded and cordless. The orbital sander is a little handheld thing. All right, it's about the size of a CD or a DVD. And it's got a little sanding pad underneath it which spins around. Right. Now the very best ones have got what's called a random orbit to them, and the orbit, the spinning kind of wobbles and changes, okay, so it doesn't always go in a circle. And what it's trying to do, the random orbit one's trying to sand the material without leaving obvious circular marks on it. Very powerful, right, and it's very easy to make a mistake with the orbital sander, okay, because it's a bit like the belt sander, it just can chew through material quite quickly. And we've got another thing called a belt sander here. This is a handheld plugged in corded belt sander. It's for heavy duty sanding. It's really powerful, and it's for doing large flat surfaces. So if you've got like a tabletop, something like that you're doing, or a plank of wood, and you want to sand the whole lot of it, you would pull out the belt sander and go at it with that, because it would get through it in no time. The sandpaper tends to be expensive for it, right? So we tend to not hand that out all the time. And that's us. That's us at the end of our lesson about power tools, machine tools. Okay, the two sanders, orbital sander, belt sander, the two drills, the corded drill and the cordless drill, the jigsaw, the cordless screwdriver, the disc sander and the belt sander. These are the things that we have to know about. We also have to know about tool care and maintenance, and importantly, as a condition of entering the workshop, you have to make sure that you're working safely at all times.